I'm going to share with you my new 6 gear items for this upcoming canoe camping season. I want to say thank you to SEEKWAY for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. New camping gear is exciting, and I am super stoked for my new gear for 2022 canoe camping season. However, the last thing I want to do is make people feel like they need to have all these new things, new gadgets, new items to enjoy their time in nature. I'm going to share not only the new gear piece, but also why I decided to get this and what you can use if these gear pieces are not in your budget for this year. There's always a lot of things that you can use at home that you already have, especially for canoe camping. The first thing I'm going to share is my Sea to Summit 10-liter kitchen sink. I have tried other brands of fabric kitchen sinks for camping before, and I wasn't impressed. Last summer when one of my friends suggested getting one of these, I said, no, I don't really like those. I want a hard-sided one. But then I tried hers while we were camping, and I actually did really like this brand. So the Sea to Summit kitchen sink I think is worth it. There are different sizes. I went with the 10-liter. So it comes inside of a case. I didn't disconnect the case from this packaging yet. Inside the case you will find the sink, and it just pops open and you fill it with water. So you fill it inside with water, and it actually holds form so that you can use it for washing dishes, you can use it for bathing, you can use it for putting out your campfire, or even washing your clothes if you're gonna wash your clothes while camping. It's a nice bucket to have. If this is not in your budget though, other things you could use to put out your fire, to wash dishes in, to wash your hair in, is an ice cream pail from home, or a pot. If you're gonna bring some kind of pot to cook in on your camping trip, you could always use that. I've used those to wash my hair in, to put out the fire, but this is just an upgrade if you're looking for something nice for these purposes. I really like this sink. My next new piece of gear is actually a tent. I have the Underwood aggregator tent. This tent does not come with any poles. It just comes with strings and stakes. I couldn't think of the word. And tent stakes. So it's just basically the fabric for a tent. And this tent is a triangle peaked tent. It's only one layer, so the problem with a one-layer tent is that it can have some condensation, but I like to keep the windows open at night anyways, and there are windows on the end, so hopefully that's not an issue. I'm gonna give it a try. What you can use with these tents are hiking trekking poles to put on either side for tent stakes. Otherwise you can just use the strings attached to the tent, hang them up on trees, but you have to have trees around your tent pad in order for this to work. So it might not work anywhere, but I think it'll work just fine in the Boundary Waters. I am going to set this tent up in a future video where I talk about getting ready, how I get ready for a Boundary Waters trip, how I get ready for a camping trip. So stay tuned if you want to see this tent set up. Why did I get a new tent? I wanted a lighter, smaller tent. This tent packaged right here is about 1/3 of the size of my other tent that I've been using. I wanted something that's just smaller and easier to pack. My other tent works just fine. It's a cheap, just average tent. I wanted to get something that was more lightweight. When I've looked around and tested out different ultra lightweight tents, I have been a bit disappointed with the quality. They make them super light, but that often means that it's super thin and they often tear. I know that's controversial and people are not gonna necessarily like that I'm saying this, but I like a sturdy tent. So I wanted something that's like thicker but also lightweight, and I hope that's what this is. That's what it sounded like it was gonna be. So I will try this out this year and let you know at the end of the season what I thought of this tent. If it's not in your budget to get a new tent, there are often tents at thrift stores, or even sometimes you can borrow one from a family member. It doesn't have to be ultra light. It doesn't have to be brand new. Thanks again to the sponsor of this video, SEEKWAY. SEEKWAY sent me some water shoes. In the past I've used sandals with socks, something like Chacos or Tivas with socks on the inside. That works just fine. It's not super fashionable. This will be an upgrade in the fashion department. These water shoes are easy to be tightened up. I ordered them a half size too big, and they fit perfectly, so keep that in mind. I think they look like they'll be nice and durable. They've got some good grip, so I'm excited to give these a try. It's always nice to have a pair of shoes when you go camping that are gonna get wet and a pair of shoes that are gonna stay dry. Usually I just let my sandals get wet, but I'm gonna try these as my water shoes, my wet shoes this year. It looks like they'll dry very quickly. You could just use old tennis shoes if these aren't in the budget. Old tennis shoes will stay wet longer and they might be a little bit more sloshy, you know what I'm talking about. But if you're looking for some water shoes, I'm gonna give these a go, and you could too. I will have a link in the description of this video where you can buy these shoes for 20% off using the code Jodi20off. There are geese flying everywhere. The next new piece of gear that I have is a tarp for my campsite. Usually when I go camping, somebody else always brings a tarp, and if I go camping by myself, I don't bring one, and if it rains, I just hang out in my tent. So I'm super excited to bring my own tarp to use to sit under if it's raining, or to just get some shade at camp, or even to block some wind if necessary. To be honest, this tarp is a lot bigger, like packed size-wise, than I expected when I ordered it. You can get ones that are really small, but I'm hoping that means that this is going to be super durable. The next new gear item I'm going to show you is my pack towel. So this is just a camp towel to use after bathing or swimming or getting caught in the rain. I have put off buying one of these for years because I've always just used a towel from home, like a bath towel or a hand towel, and that works fine. But when you're packing up and moving around or leaving the boundary waters, then you often have a wet, heavy towel that you're going to take with you. This towel dries quickly. I went camping last summer with a friend who had the same type of towel, and she loved it and recommended it, so I got one. I have camped my entire life without actually having a camp towel, so this is a new thing. You definitely don't need one of these. It also came with a little pack case, which is kind of a nice touch. I don't know that it's waterproof and will keep the water in, but if it is, that's even better. The last gear item I'm going to share with you today is my camp pot. So this is a M Square brand camp pot. It's silicone and it pops up and pops down. You can get bigger ones or smaller ones. I got a semi-small one, probably good for 1 or 2 people. If you have a whole group, might want to get a larger one. But you can cook with this on a stove, like a camp stove, but not on a campfire because you don't want the heat or the fire to be up on the silicone part. But when you set this on a stove, it works just fine. And I just love how collapsible it is. Usually when I go camping, I bring like a pot or a pan from home, and I find that this boils water so much faster. You could, however, just use your pot from home. You can also use that same pot for washing your hair, washing your dishes, things like that. But I'm excited for this. Again, like I said, there are lots of things that you can use from home if these items aren't in your budget. But I did want to show you what I'm upgrading this year, what new things I'm going to be trying. I'm always slowly expanding the items that I have for camping, but you can start with whatever you have. Share in the comments of this video what new camping items you got this year and why you're excited about them.